Lacuna is a two-player game that is played on a cloth, a printed piece of cloth, comes in a tube, which you see here. And, well, I learned about it from a friend of mine who was raving that, oh my gosh, you have to try it, I tried it, it's like the best two-player filler, you can teach it in 30 seconds, it's so amazing, so deep. I'm like, whoa, Eduardo, I get it, I gotta try it. So, here is the copy that the publisher sent me as a review copy, and this is the game as it is set up. And yes, I played it, I tried it, and today I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. So it is played on this printed piece of cloth, which looks very nice and pleasant. And then you have these wooden tokens that need to be scattered around, not clumped in a few areas, but scattered sort of kind of randomly, but also kind of sort of evenly. You're supposed to put them in the tube and then use this plastic lid here and then kind of like scatter them like is pepper on some kind of food. It doesn't work very well to me. Actually, what happens is either they don't come out or bloom, like 5 come out and do from a clam. So what we do is simply dump them and then spread them out like this, like pizza dough. Kind of like that. So this would be a setup that would work. Then each player has 6 metal pawns like those that you see there. And gameplay, as my friend Eduardo had promised me, is indeed exceedingly simple. Actually, before the game starts, before we set up, the first player is gonna take one piece and add it to their personal supply, because there is an advantage in going second. So this is supposed to make up for the first player disadvantage. Then players will alternate taking turns and simply placing one of their pawns on the board. So now gold goes, then silver goes, and so on and so forth. When you place a pawn on the board, you place it in between 2 pieces of the same type and color. And so, for example, I got purple there. If I selected these 2, I can place it at any point in between the 2, and suppose I decide to place it there for reasons. After I place that, I indicate what are the 2 that I am placing it in between of. I collect the pieces themselves and add them to my personal supply. That was gold, and now say silver goes, places there, and collects these 2. Now gold goes again, and gold decides to go here. Now, an important thing, there must be nothing in between the 2 pieces, so gold could not place it there and indicate that they are going to collect these 2 pieces, because that's there's a piece in there. Also, players' pieces block what we could call line of sight. And so that's how it goes, and then we play for silver. Silver's turn again? I lost count. Yes, silver. Go silver. Booyah. There. We continue like this until all 12 pawns have been placed on the board, so a number of tokens will be removed. What happens at that point? At that point, suppose that this is the last... This is how the board looks like at the end of the game. Then each piece that is still on the board goes to the player who has a pawn, the closest to it. And so, for example, right now, silver will get all of those for sure. All of these go to silver. This one probably goes to gold, and this one goes to gold. This one, we probably need to measure it. No problem, we got a little ruler that comes with. So at the end, you will have a number of tokens that you will have collected in your personal pile. And you're trying to get majorities in as many types as possible. So each type of token has 7 of it. So we got 7 for pink, 7 for orange, 7 for blue. And so if you collected 4 of a kind, yay, you have majority there. So the player who has majority, who has the most majority in the most kinds of tokens, wins the game. And that's how you play Lacuna. The rulebook describes the game as a cozy experience. Maybe when you play with your friends or family, but my friend Frank and I, we didn't feel the cozy at all. Because we're pretty competitive, and the game is one of positional competition, zero sum. If I take something, it's to take it away from you. If I make a gain, is because I take it away from you. If I play, and it's not just that happens, say, on an abstract level. If I place my pawn here and you place it right next to mine to steal away a certain sector of the board, it's not just that it is advantageous to you, it feels mean. So that's a game that feels very oppositional. And of course, again, that's part of the game, that's part of the experience. But I just want you to know that the game, if you play competitively, is a lot more intense and confrontational than what maybe the beautiful wooden flowers will let you to believe. And you can really discover multiple layers on how to be annoying to the other player. You start by saying, well, I want to collect flowers that are good to me, that are useful to me, and also I'm building up my position for the end of the board, for the end of the game. And then you realize that while you're doing so, when you place it in between two, you can also place your pawn to block another set that you wouldn't be able to take. You can only take one set per position, but you can block one entirely, so it cannot be taken anymore. And I see that my friend would need 2 flowers of that color to get a majority, so I'm taking 2 that are useful to me while blocking those so the other player doesn't get them. There is a lot of interesting stuff like that goes on, which also makes the game, actually, if you play competitively, prone to a bit of analysis paralysis. I remember my friend and I were like standing up, looking at the board, almost like we're freaking commanders looking at a very complicated, very momentous war game and deciding the mighty attack. Because also it's an economic game with 6, in the sense of minimalistic, in the sense of with 6 placements, each placement matters. And so the game took longer than probably intended, felt pretty confrontational, and we loved it. We loved it. I think this is or could have been an amazing, I would say, filler in the terms of rules, but a little bit more than that in terms of strategy, which is great. It means that there is depth in the design that is disproportionately deep when compared to the simplicity of the rules. But I didn't say this is like the best filler, the deepest filler, because a problem emerged early on, and I'm still very, very conflicted about it, which is the second player advantage seems massive. Again, the friend and I that I played it with, we're fairly evenly matched. I mean, Frank is better than me on most games, but when it comes to simple stuff like this, we're fairly evenly matched. We played 6 times. He went first 3 times. I went first 3 times. And the second player won every time. Every time. 6 out of 6. And so the only difference was who was first and who was second. It seems that having a token, an extra token at the beginning of the game during setup is not enough to offset the massive advantage that you get by placing the last token, the last pawn, where you can seal off entire sections. When you have perfect information, that's something else that also slows down gameplay a little bit, because I know what you took and I know what I took, and I know that one token makes the difference between victory or losing the game, so I'm gonna make sure that I get it, or try to. And so the last placement, you have perfect information, perfect control. It looks like it's very hard for the first player to build up a situation in which the second player will not snatch victory away from you. I say it feels very difficult because 6 out of 6 we couldn't figure it out. And so that's the problem that I have. Maybe other people have figured out variants or ways of going around that. Maybe starting by giving 2 tokens to the First player, 7 tokens like Lotus tokens or Flower tokens, or giving the first player an extra pawn that he plays on the board before game starts. I don't know, but as is, 6 out of 6 really worries me that with evenly matched players, the game may be unbalanced. Maybe you can play it maybe you can play it cozy. Just, who cares if the second player is always gonna win? I'm just here for the ride and the beauty. Maybe you play with a much younger, much less experienced player. Maybe use that to even out imbalance in play skills. I don't know, but as is, I'm a bit torn because I was loving it so much until we started having the feeling that there was a problem with the second player. But if there's a way of solving that, this will become one of my favorite fillers ever.